Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Where Do We Begin? It is our last one for the season. We're giving you guys a bit of a break from us annoying three, and I'm delighted to welcome my first co-host on the show, Lockie. How are you, Lockie?
Yeah, I'm super hyped, having a bit of an end of year celebration, though we're recording at 5 o'clock and I've got to drive later, so I'm not cracking open a beer, but I've cracked open the Pepsi Max, and I am excited to announce my co-host, Jackson. Jackson, how are you today, buddy?
G'day, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, man. I feel a bit bad about hitting you with the buddy call, but look, sometimes you just have to
calm
alpha.
down. No, it's all good. I'm metaphorically cracking a beer as well because I've got a game tonight, so on the waters until then.
You beauty. Yeah. And so we've got a bit of a different episode today. So no special guest in particular, but we'll be having sprinkled around throughout the episode a couple of past guests who will be giving us their favourite sporting moment of the year. We'll give you a bit of the rundown of how we have found the year 2020 and our experiences doing the podcast. We'll also give you our favourite sporting moments of the year, what our plans for 2021 are, and of course, our big bumper mega quiz.
Yes, the quiz is absolutely huge. There's lots of entertaining little segments going on in this episode today. But should we start off with our favourite podcasting moment? We've had a bloody great year of podcasts, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in and start. So I think my favourite podcasting moment was John Hillerman, the NFL running back. He was an awesome bloke, but I really liked how he spoke about college football and not paying athletes, because obviously it's a pretty major issue over there with the amount of money that the NCAA and all the colleges are making off these athletes, and they're getting really nothing in return. And I think the figure was something ridiculous, like if there wasn't any college football, so one of the states, they'd lose $7 billion in revenue if there was no college football season, and they weren't paying the players. It was ridiculous.
I saw a ridiculous stat the other day during COVID, when it was really, really hitting in America, was that the state of Alabama would lose $8 billion if the Crimson Tide don't play a season, if Alabama doesn't play a season this year. That's one season. $8 billion in revenue.
That's crazy.
Those numbers are astronomical. And then for anyone to think that they shouldn't get a piece of just a piece. Now, I'm not saying pay them like NFL players, but because they're still students at the end of the day, but they got to get a piece of that. Like, they got to get a piece of that pie, whether it's a wage that gets taxed or something, but you got to give them something. Like, that's always been, and my father, he was a Division I athlete, and he feels the same way, the same exact way. He's like, look, they should get paid. And he played at the time where that was unheard of. Like, players getting paid, people would laugh at you if they thought that was the case. They had it way worse. And he's like, yeah, they should have been paid. Everyone should have got paid.
So I really loved that moment and just, the whole interview with John. So if you haven't checked it out, I really recommend it.
Yeah, I'll go next. So as I've said on this podcast many a time, I'm a huge supporter of women's sport. So I have a shout out. So shout out to Alex Chidiac for being our first in-studio guest. She was fantastic, gave us a lot, especially being an international superstar playing in Spain for Atletico. But my favourite moment was interviewing Bree Davey, obviously captain now of Collingwood, well, co-captain, and the first player to ever captain Carlton and Collingwood. We asked her about how men can be allies in women's sport, and she just gave a fantastic answer.
I think for me, the biggest thing is, just staying in touch with that sort of stuff. And if you're hearing someone say something, it's not always easy, but having, I guess, the tools to call things out. I think a lot of the time, especially in Australia, unfortunately, there's that sort of those casual jokes and those casual sort of sexist remarks at times, and people sort of sweep it under the rug, but it's really not on. And look, I think AFLW is a really family-friendly space, and you don't often get that at games, which is really, really amazing. You don't often get that, but, things like online and things like that, I think it's just about people putting others in their place when they need to, because I think quite often, like I said, it becomes that casual sort of, oh, they were just joking, like let's laugh it off. when really it's actually offending, a lot of people. So yeah, that would probably be my main thing.
If you haven't heard it, it's one of our earlier episodes, so check it out. It's definitely worth listening. She gave us so much of her time and great answers. So Harper, what about you, mate?
You guys, Lockie, you gave a more recent episode and Jackson gave an early episode. I'm going to give one a bit in the middle. It was one Jackson and I did together. It was with Matt Shaw. He's a footy player that not everyone may have heard of him. He was a Gold Coast player, played more than 100 games for him actually, but he was a really, really lovely guy to speak to, and he had a really, really interesting story. Before I get into what his story was, I just want to give a huge shout out to all the guests we've had, because I've loved every single episode we've done. It's just been amazing doing this. But some of the stuff he said about the way he found out about his delisting on his wedding night, it was pretty sad. And he I don't think he even got a phone call. Is that right, Jackson? It was just bloody shocking.
Yeah, didn't he find out through Facebook, or a friend told him and then he found out on Facebook?
Through Twitter at the wedding, I listened to that episode.
Yeah, it was, just so rough. But it's good to see Matt, hopefully he's going much better for himself. Yeah,
I was over in Bali on my wedding night and seeing that I got delisted from the Suns. Never really got a phone call or anything to say how, thank you for your 8 years or whatever. I'd never really heard anything, just seen it on Facebook pretty much that I'd been delisted.
Wow, that was great listening, and I've listened to that episode. I wasn't personally a part of it, but I really recommend checking it out if you haven't. I loved it.
Here's Denver Granger Barris from the Hawks, and episode 28, go listen to it, with his favourite sporting moment of the year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the fellow Where Do We Begin podcast listeners. Denver Granger Barris here from the Hawthorn Football Club, and my favourite sporting moment this year was finally hearing the long-awaited first siren for bounce down at Steel Blue Oval against West Perth in the Waffle. It was after 10 months of pre-season and a lot of uncertainty surrounding whether we would play football at all. So to finally hear that siren and to play some football was an absolute blessing. So that was my favourite sporting moment from this year. Sadly, we got a loss on that day, but it was a massive learning curve and an amazing experience to play league footy against men. So my favourite sporting moment of this year was round 1. Thank you, guys. Have a good Christmas. Happy New Year.
And now it's time to ask a question to Jackson and Harper. So you guys actually started the podcast, so I'd love to know. So I was the third banana and I jumped in late, around late September or October. So do you guys just want to talk about your experience starting the podcast and how much you've enjoyed doing it over the previous, 8 months?
Oh, yeah, Jackson, do you want to go for that one?
Yeah, sure. So obviously Harper was the big brains behind everything. He called me up or texted me and saying, hey, I'm thinking of starting a podcast because I've got so much time on my hands. Do you want to be a producer? And I was like, yeah, sure. I don't know what that entails, but I'll give it the best go. And then probably a few days later, he's just like, oh, do you just want to be the co-host? I'm like, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's had its few challenges. Obviously, through lockdown, it was a bit easier getting time to interview everyone because everyone had so much time on their hands. And that's why I took the break. Obviously, working in retail, you get zero time during this time of the year. So I'm thankful that Lockie's come in and taken my position. I'm happy to hear the future of this podcast. I'll be around, but I leave it in the great hands of these two. But just meeting all these people, if it's in person or over Zoom, it's just been amazing to hear these people's stories. A lot of stuff that I didn't know before and stuff that I'll just remember forever. So, Harper, what about you, mate?
Yeah, I bet maybe 9 months ago, both of us wouldn't have ever envisioned that at the end of the year we would have interviewed massive names like Michael Liner, Bree Davey, Alex Chidiac, Hayden Ballantyne. Who else have we had? We've had huge people, Scott McDonald.
Mate, all the guests have been massive.
Every single guest has been massive.
And
we
we
had massive
appreciate
names,
that
and
so
even
much.
the ones who aren't massive names. Every single one has had such an interesting story, and it's just been so worthwhile. Every podcast, every interview we do is just so rewarding. And anyone that is looking to start a podcast out there, I strongly encourage you to do it, because it's if you've got the time to do it, it's such a rewarding thing to do. And Lockie, I bet you've found the same thing in the 2 or 3 months you've been doing this, eh?
Oh, mate, 100%. 3 months, mate. Don't round down, round up. But yeah, it's been so rewarding, mate. Like I've loved it. And to be honest, it's something that I've always really wanted to do. You know, I love hearing the sound of my own voice. Just kidding. Ha ha ha. But no, but it seriously is. And I'd seriously, if anybody has any questions out there about starting a podcast, just message us, message the page, message our personal accounts. We'd honestly love to help because it is a lot of fun. It is a fair bit of work, but mate, it is just so worth it. And especially in the lockdown, I think something that I think we all missed was just that human and personal connection. And I feel like, you know, there wasn't that opportunity to go out and meet new people, whether it's through sport or just simply going out. So the ability to jump on Zoom and converse with not only just amazing sporting personalities, but new people was something that's just awesome. It was just a real opportunity for us to learn and grow from that. So yeah, I've loved it, and seriously, I wouldn't change a thing. So I seriously, anybody out there that's thinking about starting a podcast, I'd really think about it.
Here's Craig Whistles from A Yank on the Footy with his favourite sporting moments of the year.
Hello everyone, Craig Whistles from A Yank on the Footy podcast. And the lads from Where Do We Begin reached out and asked myself and several others, I'm sure, to discuss their greatest sports moments of the year. And for me, I have a couple. One being getting my podcast up and running this year, which I'm having an absolute blast doing that. And perhaps more important was seeing the AFL season actually get completed, even though it wasn't what we had all had anticipated. And the icing on the cake was seeing my club make the grand final. Now, they didn't win, but there were 16 other teams that would have loved to have been in that position. So I was pretty thrilled about that because as a Cleveland sports fan, good things don't often happen to our teams. So it was great to have that happen. Thanks a bunch. Happy New Year.
And now we'll jump to our next segment, which is our favourite sporting moments of the year. And we'll start with you, Jackson, mate. You look like you're jumping at the bit to give us yours.
So these are in no particular order. Obviously a big shout out. I think we're going to hear it in Lockie's one, so I'll leave that for him. But there's a huge one that we all said in our sort of pre-podcast chat, but I've taken it out because we're all going to say it. So in no particular order, number one, Leeds United getting promoted to the Premier League after 16 years out of it. Obviously, Leeds were a huge club back in the early 2000s. Got relegated after some financial trouble. Even went down to League One. Finally, they're back in the Premier League in the big time. One of my great friends, Elliot, is a huge Leeds supporter from Leeds, and I remember messaging him that night. He was just like, "Oh, I can't wait." Number two, early in the year, the Matildas qualified for the cancelled Olympics. It wasn't cancelled back then, but it has since been. But they will be competing at the Olympics next year. And obviously the women's competition is a bit more competitive than the men's because the men's is the under-23s for each country, whereas the women's is the actual women's national team. So it was very exciting watching the women's beat Vietnam in the playoff and qualify for the Olympic Games. Number three, just the AFL season in general. We're all footy-loving mad supporters on this podcast. So for the season to be taken away, but then come back so strong and even having all these footy festivals was just amazing. But my personal favourite moment in the whole season was the elimination final against West Coast, Collingwood beating them by 1 point, which I did call. If you remember, Harper.
Yeah, couldn't forget.
That was just a stab in the dark, but it actually happened, and I ended up crying that night, so it was pretty great.
I love the comment by one of our, I don't know if it was a friend of yours, but they said, it's when you think that your team's going to lose, but you can't tip against them, you go the 1 point win.
Yeah, exactly. But it happened, and the highs got up. Unfortunately, we just didn't turn up the next week, as Lockie will know. But number 4, the Lakers winning the NBA Finals in the bubble to honour Kobe Bryant, which we will talk about a little bit later. And my last one, which is the most recent, but for a huge day in Australian cricket, really, is bowling India out for 36.
I loved that. I couldn't believe it. I came off yesterday in the tea break and I saw that they were like 6 for 18 and Kohli was out and I just couldn't believe it.
Oh, yeah. Like, definitely one of the bigger times, especially since we haven't had great times the last few years in Australian cricket, except for the women's. They're killing it, which we will mention. But yes, Australia winning the first test match against India. Lockie. How about you, mate?
I agree. I reckon leave the best for last and leave Harper for last. And if I had to have an honourable mention, it would probably be me making 44 the other week. Great. One of the best knocks you'll ever hear about. But anyway.
Huge.
Huge, mate. Just absolutely whacked them around. Anyway, so now we go to my fifth one, which is Patrick Mahomes when he won his first Super Bowl with that fourth quarter comeback. You know, I think they were 10 points down in the fourth quarter and they ended up winning by 11. And I'm not a massive NFL fan, but I think that was just an amazing achievement from such a young star of the league and potentially could go on to be one of the greats. Not that I can name about 5 NFL players, but still, it's an amazing achievement. And then I'd have to go at number 4 would be Melbourne Storm winning the premiership. You know, they spent the whole year on the road, so it was just a phenomenal effort to go out and win a premiership. And they are one of the best sporting teams in the world. I'm not a massive NRL follower, but I feel like all being from Melbourne, we can't deny how strong the Melbourne Storm have been over so many years. And to win another premiership, it really, Craig Bellamy is an absolute genius.
Every other state so jealous of that. Like, they hate us for it.
Yeah, they're the Collingwood of the NRL, that's for sure. At number 3, I've got, the Lakers championship win and honouring Kobe. I do love my basketball, and to see LeBron win his 4th and really cement his legacy, especially after the Last Dance, which I'm sure we all consumed during the lockdown, and bringing up the GOAT debate between Jordan and LeBron, and this win really solidified his legacy, and hopefully he can go on to win a few more and really challenge Jordan as one of the greatest of all times.
But also with that NBA Finals, 2 teams that no one really expected to be there, if I may say that, Lucky.
I actually picked Miami Heat to be there. I put a little nice little bet on it at the start of August, and it came to fruition.
Fair enough then. But I think in general, everyone was going for Clippers versus Bucks in the finals.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those 2 teams, even the Miami Heat to get there was just huge in the bubble.
Yep, definitely. And then at number 2, I've got Cats winning the prelim final and Gaz putting on a show. As a Cats fan, I've been through a lot of heartbreak in prelim final week. And so it was so satisfying to finally get one. And just Gary, I think it was that second quarter where he just showed his class and he set up a couple of key goals and it was just absolutely unbelievable. And now number 1, and I feel like we're all pretty consistent with this, it was the 80,000 at the Women's Cricket World Cup at the MCG for the Australia v India game. It was absolutely phenomenal to see such a strong support for women's sport, and to see our girls get up and win the World Cup was absolutely phenomenal. There's so many great players in that side. Healy, Perry. It was just absolutely amazing, and that's why it is my number 1 sporting moment of the year. I can't 80k at the G for that. It was just such phenomenal support.
I do have to add something. I had a little bit of connection to that game. My little sister, who plays for Edinburgh Cricket Club here in Melbourne, was at the lineup, the national anthems with the players. So in front, they had to have the little cricketers with them. She was one of them, and so I was super proud of my little sister being there.
Big shout out to her if she's listening.
Yep.
All right, so those were my favourite sporting moments of the year. Now, as I said before, best to last. Harps, hit us with them.
All right, so I've got to give a big shout out to Australia bowling India out for 32, which was a phenomenal performance. I was going to put it in there, but then I forgot. So big shout out to that. Probably would have been around number 2, but I'll start with my number 5. I've got Dustin Martin's grand final performance. For anyone that's got any interest in AFL, Lockie, you haven't got too much of an interest in this game, I know. Dusty won the Norm Smith, obviously. 4 goals, 21 disposals and 5 clearances. 3rd Norm Smith, of course. Absolutely huge from him. Number 4, I've got Liverpool finally lifting the Premier League trophy after a 30-year wait to get their hands on the title. That was July 22nd against Chelsea. In the build-up to that game, they lifted the trophy, which was absolutely huge for all their fans. We don't like Liverpool around here, but lots of people do. And number 3, I've kind of merged 2 into 1 here. There were 2 very tragic sporting deaths, absolute sporting icons and legends for their respective sports this year. I've merged them into one: Kobe Bryant and Diego Maradona. Kobe Bryant and Diego Maradona, just the outpouring of emotion, all the tributes that came through to them was just an absolutely defining sporting moment of the year. These are my kind of defining sporting moments of the year, not necessarily my favourites like yours were. But yeah, Kobe was just 42 and Diego was 60, so both gone too soon. But they'll forever be remembered for their sporting achievements around the world, really. But number 2, an absolutely defining moment for me. Obviously, we've seen most or every sport getting cancelled at some point. But the big one, the Olympics getting cancelled. That's my number 2. That came... everyone was kind of expecting it, I guess, but it still came as a bit of a shock when it was finally announced. And number 1, of course, in front of 86,174 people on the 8th of March this year. The Aussies winning the Cricket World Cup against India. It was absolutely huge. I was there along with a few mates and Jackson's sister, of course. That was an amazing game to witness, an amazing moment in Australian sporting history, really. And hopefully a turning point for not just women's sport, but sport in general over here.
Yeah, I love that, Harps. Great minds think alike. I think we all really love that moment.
Yeah. This favourite sporting moment of the year is Hunter Clark's. He's most well known for appearing on episode 25 of Where Do We Begin? And you also might know him for being the St Kilda star and the 2021 Brownlow medalist. Take it away, Hunter.
Probably, well, it's a hard one because a lot of sports obviously been put off, but winning a final, like playing in one and winning one, was obviously a huge moment and awesome experience. But from outside of my own personal things, probably my dad played a game of cricket the other week, hadn't played for a few years, and went in at 9 for and smashed the winning runs. So that was actually pretty cool to watch, and have a few beers over that with Dad, which was pretty funny.
And I reckon it's time now, the time that everybody's been waiting for, Harps.
Mate.
Quiz time.
Okay, quiz time. It is quiz time. I'm sensing quiz coming on here. My first question, we know how the quiz runs here. You guys participate.
It's been a long time, so you might have to do the rules again.
You've participated in many a quiz in your time. Lockie's on a bit of a bad run of form. Jackson probably didn't end his quizzing. Actually, probably lost his last 5.
I wanted to leave the guests feeling good about themselves and confident, mate. I definitely threw a couple of leads there on purpose.
Yeah, well, you say that. But so this whole quiz, it's a bit of a mishmash of themes. It's got some Christmas themes, got some sporting themes, got some themes about the podcast, bit of everything, you know. So my first question. So as of the 20th of December, 2020, people in 37 different countries have listened to this very podcast. So I'm just going to rotate it between the two of you. Can you just keep naming countries until one of you gets it wrong?
Australia.
Just by the way, I'm really surprised it's more than 2.
Yeah.
37, that's huge.
37 is huge indeed. Australia's correct, of course.
The US.
Just for the listeners, by the way, these guys, they know how many listens we're getting and everything, but they do not know any of the countries. So
New Zealand. I'm just assuming New Zealand.
Correct.
Did you get my first answer?
Yeah, I got your first answer.
Okay, cool. Let's go Spain.
Yep, Spain's also correct.
South Africa.
South Africa is correct. Yeah, well done.
Is it England or does it go the whole UK?
The UK.
Okay.
I'm going to go, this will be a bit of a stab in the dark. I'm going to go France.
France, correct. Absolutely correct. Jackson?
Italy?
Italy, also correct.
All right, I'm going to go a bit of a risky one. I'm going to go a risky one because Ryan Brockhoff played in Turkey. I'm going to go Turkey.
Turkey is incorrect. Jackson, you need to get it correct here. Before you win the point, you need to get it correct here because Lockie started it.
All right. Canada.
Canada's absolutely correct. Jackson's won the point. There were a few weird ones. We've got listeners in Slovakia, Bulgaria, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Thailand.
I should have said
Philippines.
Japan. I know Yosh listens to
Japan,
it.
of
Oh,
course.
mate. Sorry, Yosh.
I won't name all of them. UAE, Papua New Guinea, of course. Heaps of countries, 37 countries, like I mentioned. But we'll move on to question 2. Of course, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Santa's about to head down all our chimneys in a COVID-safe manner, of course. And there's actually a football club, FC Santa Claus. They're a football club from Rovaniemi, and their name stems from the legend that Rovaniemi is the hometown of Santa Claus. So my question is, in which Scandinavian country of 5.5 million people does FC Santa Claus play?
Jackson.
Iceland is incorrect. Lockie. Which Scandinavian country of 5.5 million people?
I thought it was Italy, but that's not Scandinavian. So the only other one I can think of is Finland.
Finland is absolutely correct. He's levelled the score. It's 1-1.
I wouldn't have thought of Iceland if you hadn't have said it, Jackson. Sorry, I wouldn't have said of Finland if you hadn't thought of it, mate.
I knew it was one of them. I just
mate.
didn't know which one.
Gee whiz.
Yeah, geez. We'll move on to question 3. So, of course, some of our women's teams, despite not having many games to play in this year, they've still made huge strides. Of course, the Matildas qualifying for the Olympics, and our female cricketers winning the World Cup, and the Hockey Roos preparing for their Olympics as well. Go listen to the Alison Annan episode from last week or early this week if you haven't already, by the way. So I've got the question for you guys. Rank these 3 teams from lowest to highest placing in the world. So I've got the Matildas, the Hockey Roos, and the Australian women's ODI team. Lowest to highest in the world. Lockie.
So highest, I'll go the women's cricket team. I'll go second, the Hockey Roos, and third, the Matildas.
That is absolutely correct. The cricket team's first in the world, Hockey Roos are second, and the Matildas are seventh.
Mate, their women's cricket team's awesome.
Yeah, insane. And of course, the Hockey Roos only trailing behind our great mate team that she coaches. Alison Annan coaches the Dutch team. Of course, they're number 1 in the world. So we'll move on to question 4. So Lockie's 2-1 up. So I've got closest to the pin question for you. So the Dutch footballing legend, Johan Cruyff, Alison Annan, also great mates with him when he was still alive before his tragic death, of course. So anyway, the Dutch footballing legend, Johan Cruyff, won his second Ballon d'Or on Christmas Day of which year? It's a closest to the pin question. Lockie.
1978.
It's incorrect, but it's closest to the pin, so I'll give Jackson a shot.
74.
74 is also incorrect. And I can say he did win a Ballon d'Or in 74. It was his 3rd Ballon d'Or. So he won in 73, his 2nd Ballon d'Or. He's absolutely nailed it. So
I picked 74 because I know that's the World Cup where he pushed the Dutch to the final, but ultimately lost. So I thought he would have gotten that year, definitely.
Yeah. 71, 73, 74, the great man Johan Cruyff, of course. But move on to question 5. This is a multi-part question. Usually, I put a who am I here, but doing a bit of a Christmas theme, doing something different. You guys into Christmas music?
No.
Not really.
Not really. But I'd say
I work in retail. We have to listen to all that.
Of course. You guys would know a fair few Christmas songs, I'm guessing. So I've got the electric piano just here. I'm going to play a very simplified version. I'm kind of working out the spot. It's not going to be very good. I'm going to play a very simplified version of a few Christmas songs, and the first person to buzz in and guess it is going to get the point. So I've got 5 Christmas songs for you. All right. What's the current score? Is it 2-2?
Yeah.
Okay. So
neck and neck.
This one. Start with an easy one. Are we ready to go?
Yeah.
Yep.
Jackson, go for it.
All I Want for Christmas.
I'll give it to you. All I Want for Christmas is You.
Yeah. I didn't know if these you was with it, but
yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I forgot to say at the start, you can get a second point if you name the artist.
Michael Bublé.
Like the original?
Bublé. Give us Bublé.
Mariah Carey, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Mariah Carey. Jackson's gone 4-2 up. It's definitely not Bublé. Lockie.
I mean, he's probably covered it, but like,
It probably has, to be fair. This next one, I've got to say, I don't really know the tune of it, so I'm just going to read you. I'm going to read you the lyrics. You know what? I'll play some chords along with it as well. So, it's Christmas time. There's no need to be afraid. At Christmas time, we let in light and we banish shade. And in our world of plenty, we can spread a smile of joy. Throw your arms around the world at Christmas time. Anyone got any idea so far?
Pass. Nah, mate.
I've no
Pass on
clue.
it? Okay. So Do They Know It's Christmas by Band-Aid. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, no.
No.
All right. Jesus. Not a good start. But Jackson's 4-2 up. He's got a hefty lead. You know what? I'm just going to read out the lyrics. I can't really be asked doing a half-assed version of playing on the electronic keyboard here. So the third part to question 5, if I can get up the lyrics to this one. Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go,
Jackson.
let it snow. Jackson.
Baby, it's cold outside.
Incorrect. Lockie, do you want to have a go or do you want me to keep going?
Keep going, please. I've no idea.
Keep going. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Let it go. Let it go.
What's your answer, Lockie?
Can't hold you back anymore. Let it go from Frozen.
That's absolutely incorrect. It's not really a Christmas song there, mate.
I thought sang it as well.
Jeez. Jackson, do you want to claim the points before this descends into meltdown, mate?
Let it snow.
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Do you know, can you name an artist that has done it? There are a few.
Probably Blueblay.
I'll have a look if Buba has done it. He probably has.
Boomster.
The big Boomster.
So
It's just like that cover drive. You have to do it. Like Blueblay is there.
Yeah, Let It Snow has been done by Michael Bublé. I'll give you the point. Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra, probably most famous for doing it.
Yep.
6-2 to Jackson. I've got 2 more left. Okay. Lockie, you're going to get both of these to claim the draw.
Pressure creates diamonds.
Yeah, of course. This is we're under the pub. It's the last quiz of the year, so Lockie, fire up, please, mate. We'll start with this song. Welcome to my Christmas song. I'd like to thank you for the year. So I'm sending you this Christmas card to say it's nice to have you here. I'd like to sing about all the things your eyes and mind can see. So hop aboard the turntable, sorry. Oh, step into Christmas with me. Yeah. Step into Christmas, let's join together. We can watch the snow fall forever and ever. Eat, drink and be merry. Come along with me. Step into Christmas, the admission's free. Have either of you heard of that song?
I think Michael Bublé's covered it.
I can have a look if Michael Bublé's covered it. You might claim a cheap point there.
Just give us the point, mate.
Let's have a look. No, he hasn't. Oh,
no.
Jackson, have you got any idea of what the song is?
Mate. I've got no clue.
It was a bit, had to do a bit of an older one for our older listeners. Step Into Christmas by Elton John. Heard of that?
No.
You threw me off with the whole turntable. I'm like, which DJ has covered a Christmas song?
Yeah, jeez. Okay.
When did
our last
Calvin
one.
Harris do that?
You know what? I'll make this one for 5 points. For 5 points. So Lockie's still in with a shout.
Oh, no.
Santa, tell me if you're really there. Don't make me fall in love again if he won't be here next year. Santa, tell me if he really cares.
Lockie. Santa Baby.
Santa Baby is incorrect. Just for the listeners, the cocky smile on Lockie's face as he said through his answers. He's absolutely certain they're right.
They're the
And
only
he's
two
just
Christmas
butchered them.
songs I know. I was waiting for Jingle Bells or something.
Oh, jeez. The Christmas song's not big down in the Peninsula barbecues, eh?
No, mate,
Jackson,
not at all.
do you know the song?
Mate, I've got no clue.
I will give you both a clue. You can both buzz in. It's by one of the biggest artists in the world, female
Michael
artist.
Bublé.
Female artist. Anyone.
Who'd you say?
I'll tell you by Ariana Grande. Santa
No,
Tell
she
Me.
did a Christmas album.
Santa Tell Me. Have you heard of that?
No.
That was a pretty huge song when it came out. It's still heard in most retail stores, so I reckon you've heard it. But that wraps up the quiz. That was a bit of shambles. We'll be back with the quiz better than ever next year. Lockie, you got anything to say before we leave?
I'd just like to thank all the listeners for sticking around. I'd like to congratulate Jackson on his win, and I'd just like to say we have a super exciting 2021. You know, we'll be back with the podcast with some awesome guests. Super pumped for that. We're going to have a new logo, which I'm really excited to unveil. We're just working through that now, and we'll even have some merch. So that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, huge things to come. Huge guests coming in 2021. Jackson, anything you want to say?
Thanks for having me on, guys. I know I'm just going to be more like a sub-in next year, which I'm happy to be because you guys are taking this podcast to new heights, and I'm very excited to see what lies ahead. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's listened so far. This is going to be huge, so to be along with this journey has been great. Also very excited, again, to see what comes next.
Yeah, Lockie, before I give my little message, you want to plug the socials quickly?
Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook at Where Do We Begin, and you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at WDWBpod. That's WDWBpod.
Yeah, 100%. And just before we go, I'd just like to thank every single person who has contributed just even one listen to this show throughout the year, whether you're in Bulgaria or Slovakia or the USA or Indonesia or right here in Australia. I'd like to thank every single one of you for listening to the show. It means a lot, and you are the people that we create it for. So it is absolutely amazing all the support we get. And before we go, I'm going to try to get the rights to some kind of Christmas song to finish off the episode and finish off the year for us. So if I do, you'll hear that in a sec. But before we go, I would just like to say thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you around February next year. Thank you, guys.
See ya.
I'm doing this as I edit. Hopefully you recognise my lovely voice. It's Harper here. Just letting you know, we've got the rights to a song. We got Deck the Halls B by Incompetech.com and Kevin McLeod, great songwriter. And thank you for all the free stuff you give out, Kevin. Love your work, mate. So decided to put this on the end, tack this on the end of the show to get you all in the bit of a festive mood and brighten up your day, hopefully. I hope you have a good one. See you next year.
Yeah.